Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. What you have just heard, dear ones, is an affirmation, a true one, of who you are. And the beauty of who you are as a human being in this, the new energy, is going to start changing. And that is the beauty of this teaching. We're talking about something that is happening on the planet that you can observe. We're talking about something that involves humanity and human consciousness that you can observe. We're speaking of changes that are in your news. Relationships between leaders, changes. If you've noticed, things are not status quo. Things are not necessarily as they were in the past. But the biggest change is going to be in the consciousness of the human. Now, a little while ago, we started talking about evolution, the new evolution. A kind of evolution that you have not seen before, brand new. And we ask you to watch for that as well, because it is at hand. And we started by telling you in review that humans in general lack the very instinct that mammals have. We told you that if you really want to show that humans are vastly different than the other mammals on the planet, just take a look at what instinct is, the survival is, of all mammals below you. We've talked about the survival instinct of a calf, of a bison, being born and walking within hours, knowing what its enemies smell like. That's survival. And that is inbred in every mammal on the planet, except you. And as proof, I have given you this in the past. One of the most basic things that a human learns very early is about heat. You burn your hand as a child, and that is etched into the neurons of your brain. So much so that it's a lifetime etching. You will never touch another fire, stove, anything you think is hot. It took one time and it lasted for life. Now, when you have children, you would think that the instinct that you had as a mother or a father, a survival instinct of heat, burning, would transfer over just like it does with a bison regarding the things a bison needs to know for survival. And yet the human baby has nothing. Nothing. The human baby will reach for the stove, and it starts again and again and again. We told you this. There's no remembrance. There's no instinct at all. Every single human who is born starts over. You learn everything again. And as the real proof is the fact that you continue to war. Bigger weapons, bigger wars. And it does not etch anything into your brain that war does not work. And each generation tries it again, or each group of generations tries it again. That's dysfunction. And we have told you this is because humans have free choice of where to take consciousness. And consciousness is part of that which is innate, intuition, Akashic, and instinct. Humanity has a low consciousness, did you notice? And it has for some time, did you notice? And suddenly, 6 years ago, the marker was passed to allow for a higher consciousness to start. We've given you instructions about the future. They're instructions because you have to know it's coming. We've told you about some of the consciousnesses that will be present in science, politics. But that's an evolution of things, dear ones. That's not an evolution of you. And I want to talk about that right now. A new kind of evolution is going to begin. You'll see it in your lifetime. Faster than you think. This is evolving. Things that used to be permissible are not. Transparency is starting to increase in all of life, in all of civilization. You've already started to see it. But here's the big one. If you're a psychologist here or a psychotherapist here, if you've studied humans here, you know about what I'm going to tell you. The premise is this. Human nature is static. It never changes. That allows you to analyze it and profile it and work with it. It allows you to figure it out and help others. Human nature doesn't change. Welcome to a new evolution. It's going to change. And the very word human nature will be a moving target. You're going to have to realign as you go. Therapist, psychologist, you're going to have to give allowance for an evolution that is far different than you thought. It involves human nature. What is human nature? It's how humans react. It's how humans think. How humans behave. What to expect in certain situations. All changing. I want to give you 4 examples of a changing of that which is evolution. Number 1. Part of human nature is how you react and work with intuition. Intuition, to most of you, is a fleeting moment. A thought that only lasts for a second. Usually discounted, not always recognized. And when it is, often it's too late. It doesn't stick, as we say. When somebody says something to you, it is tangible. Words hang in the air, they're listened to and heard by the brain. Part of that is in the neurons. It's a physical thing, but intuition, no. Comes and it goes. Some of you are better at it than others. Some actually expect it, but it's still very difficult to pin down, isn't it? In fact, it's so elusive, even when you're looking for it, and it happens, you'll say, run it again. I didn't get that. Let me tell you something. That is one of the things that's going to begin to evolve. Can you believe this? Because you have passed the marker and given permission to have the highest consciousness humanity has ever seen, you've got to accept that human nature itself is going to start changing. Intuition. What if I told you this? That it's going to slow down and show itself. This is evolution, because intuition is not tangibly what we will call 3D. It's not even all that linear. It comes and goes quickly. There will be those, and you're going to recognize them because they're going to stand out, who are so intuitive that the things that they intuit will happen over and over. Intuition is hooked to the consciousness of everything. Intuition comes through the pineal. Intuition is even part of the process of the higher self. That means that when you're intuitive, you're somehow hooked to that, a greater reality than you. And you sense it and you move with it. It's about to change. Kryon, when will it change? How will I know it? And here's the answer. It doesn't have to be that with a new child. It doesn't have to be generational. It can happen with you. Do you want it to? Intent is the answer. Acceptance is the answer. Dear Spirit, you might say, I expect to be more intuitive. Help me to understand what it feels like and to react when I see it. Help me to understand it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. So when it appears, I can snap it, hold it, understand it. So the next time it'll be stronger and stronger. How would you like to know what is true and not? With your intuition, being so positive. When somebody stands in front of you and says something, your intuition kicks in and knows it's real or it's not. That's coming. How would you like to be so tuned in to intuition that the puzzles of life are less puzzling? When you see solutions coming because you intuit whether they'll work or not. That's powerful. That alone changes human nature. Human nature today counts on intuition being nothing. And the darkness of the human spirit coming through more than the light. That's changing. Number 2, innate. I have mentioned this before. What do you think of a system in the body that you would like to know more about, that knows more than you do? And so you muscle test, and you've named it kinesiology. And you have a system inside you that knows everything. It knows if you have a disease before you do. It knows what's good for you. It even knows what the best foods are for you. You haven't a clue. How does it feel to be left out of something inside you that's you? That is innate. What are you allergic to? I'm not sure. Let's muscle test. What's going on in your blood right now? Did you catch anything? I have no idea. Until I cough. But the innate knows. It knows the instant it happens. An evolving human being will be able to start melding with the innate. Melding to a point where kinesiology will no longer be needed. You'll know the answers, dear ones, because it'll be part of you. You have inherited an increased meld with that which is inside you, which knows. Let me tell you where this is going. When something invades your bloodstream, bacteria, virus, common to humanity, instead of waiting for pain or sickness, you will know it within the hour, because the bells and whistles that go off in your bloodstream that bring the white defenders will also alert you instantly. I've got a virus. I've got a bacteria. I know what to do. That's the innate. The innate is connected to the pineal. The innate is connected to the higher self. Are you getting the picture? Human nature is starting to shift to a smarter human being. In this same category, you have to include what I will call automated homeopathy. And that means that your innate will tell you what you need, the tinctures that you desire, to tell then the corporeal body how to heal. And those tinctures may be in the way of thought groups, so you'll know how to think. If it requires that which is an herb, it'll tell you which one. You won't even have to consult, because you'll be connected for the first time to your own innate. Have you ever studied mammals on this planet who will separate themselves from the herd, be alone, and die? They are so connected to their innate. They know what's wrong. They know what to eat, when to stop or start eating the grass or whatever it is. They know. They're connected. This is their instinct, and they always have had it. They know when they're going to expire so much that they will save the herd. In other words, don't slow down for me because it's my day tomorrow. That is how connected. And you don't have a clue, but you will. New human nature is coming, dear ones. Number 3, the big one, the Akash. Right now, dear ones, the only thing that you're connected with regarding the Akash seems to be poor remembrances of bad energy. And you'll go to a reader. In order for that reader to help you understand what it is you're remembering that may get in the way of your life today. We have mentioned this time after time, and yet many still don't understand. They still don't get it. Your Akash contains magnificent things. Victories and solutions, glorious happiness, great times. Why is it that it only gives you trouble? Did you notice? The evolving humanity, the evolving human being is going to have an Akash that gives you the good stuff and helps you to solve the problems, remember who you are, what works and doesn't work, and the biggest one. When you come back, and you will, how do you feel about an Akash that will tell you you're never going to make the same mistakes again? Because you remember what works and doesn't work. That is human nature, which is very, very evolved, very smart. It changes the decisions you're going to make instead of going blindly into life and making this mistake and that mistake and this mistake. There's a light in front of you called Akash. And that light shines on the things that don't work and do work, and your intuition will point the way. That's the wisdom of the past that has your name on it, guiding you today. Is this good? Is this too unbelievable? Sounds a little like mastery, doesn't it? This is in the future of humanity. You're surrounded right now by Pleiadians, dear ones, who are cheering. The very victory song that they sing comes from these things. The beginning of an involvement of humanity that it has never seen before. Never. And this is why it's unbelievable. Because experts in humanism will always go to the past to predict the future. Here is what's going to happen based upon. And there will be nothing to base this on. And it'll be shocking to some. We can't believe what has happened. Some of the children already have it. It's misunderstood, misdiagnosed. No one thinks human nature is really changing. I'll give you number 4, the last one for now. Dear ones, it's about time the humans started to recognize their spirituality. This does not necessarily change what belief system that they will choose. Instead, it starts to change the systems that they are in. You'll believe and know at birth that there's a bigger picture. You don't have to be told by your parents about church or God. You'll go there. You'll be in your own seeking. And what you find, you will eventually change. Human beings are going to change the systems on the planet that you call organized religion. They're not going away. We've said this before. Think about this. It's logical. They're not going away. Instead, dear ones, they're going to morph into a compassionate system that understands the other ones have a right to exist. There's a oneness. And you could be with the prophet of choice for your culture and be marvelously blessed by it, and at the same time you'll welcome the others who have their prophet and say, sit next to me. Let's pray. I have a rug, I'm going to pray on it. You don't. Doesn't matter. It's the same God. You have a right to this. So do I. Isn't it grand that we can be together in this way? That's evolution. It's a spiritual evolution. One that understands the oneness of God, who you are, and the allowance for others to be themselves and a piece of God in their way, not your way. That's evolution. The planet has not seen that. Ever. Ever. Kryon, it's too good to be true. Talk to you in 10 years. You're going to see this start. It already has. Dear ones, it starts by cleaning up the darkness that has always been there. That's where it starts. You're already evolving to what you will and will not permit in your culture. Did you notice? It's already here. The world slowly is going to evolve into a consensus. They don't want war. Now, that's not necessarily going to change the leadership that may want war. But the consensus of humanity will eventually change who's elected, who stays, who leaves. They'll know it. That is what is going on right now. A planet that never wants to go back into where it was. We told you why. We told you why scientifically, why. Esoterically why, and we did it when we first arrived in Europe almost 40 channels ago. And we said that the repetition of time, dear ones, that circle of time that is inbred in the atomic structure, that circle of time that you continue on and continue on, changed in the year 2012. You moved off of an old track of repetition of the same onto a new track, very metaphysical and yet scientific. Ask a quantum physicist if any of this makes any sense. And surprisingly, they may tell you what I just said. Time is in a circle. It's never been a straight line. It tends to repeat itself, and here's why. There's fractals that move with fractals. There's science behind it and physics behind it. And now you just move to a new one, where history will not repeat, where you're on a fresh track, and you're building your own civilization from afresh. All hard to believe when you leave this room and go back to what you think has always been and always will. But it won't be. Adironda said, joy is your birthright. It's your legacy. Kryon says, joy is your birthright. It is your legacy. That as these things change, we invite you to take that birthright, the magnificence that you were born with. Recognize it, use it, to move into a life that is not afraid of these changes, but looks forward to them and embraces them when you see them, instead of wondering who the strange person is that's doing them. Old souls, you are awakening, and that is the message of Kryon, always has been. It's the message of Adironda, always has been. Together, the channelers will give you the same message in their own way, in their own language, but it always magnifies you. If you hear a channel that does not magnify you, dear ones, just shut the door. Because the truth is this: magnificent, evolving, beautiful, dearly loved, and never alone. Claim it. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The human condition, how you think, where you are in this evolving planet, is really what is at hand right now. Dear ones, I want to create something in this room. I want to create harmony. Harmony of thought. I want to talk to you personally right now about what you're facing. And for some of you, it happens slow, for others quickly. For you all have a path that is unique. But all of you are facing change. Sometimes it has already occurred in your life, and for some of you it's coming. This shift of the planet, the one that has been foretold by the ancients, is here. The whole reason for Kryon is the shift. I've told you before that many started channeling around 1989. preparing you for what was coming, for the shift that you're in. We have told you that it's easy to be caught up in it and not understand it, because you're in a circumspect box where all you see is you. And now we are pleading for something more. Old souls, you are needed to balance yourself, so that those around you can see your balance and change because of it. And there's no reason not to change gracefully. With the wisdom that is yours around so many things, there is no reason to fear the changes at hand. We told you early on that nothing would escape the change. The things that you hold most dear may be altered. They may alter themselves. That there will be changes perhaps in your biology, readjustments and recalibrations in your relationships, in business, in your vocation, your avocation, literally in what you like and don't like. We told some of you early on that there would be greater shifts in how you feel, and the emotions you might have would be higher and lower in these times. And that some of you would even go for medical help because it was so different. And immediately you say, what is wrong with me? That's the profundity of a shift that involves everything. Shifts are not always bad. Many shifts move into benevolence when there was none before, solution when there was none before. And so I ask you, dear human, why is it that when change and shift starts to occur that you didn't expect, you would simply go to the worst common denominator, which is fear? You've all had good things happen unexpectedly. That comes with life. Why do you expect the worst during this one? And the answer is this: because this one is the big one. This one starts to change your consciousness, make you ask questions literally you've never asked before. Has you perhaps awaken to new truths. And in that, many of you are starting to also become more compassionate. I'm with family. If I could wish anything for you, wish is not the word. If I could envision anything for you, it would be a smile on your face, joy in your heart, and an understanding that goes beyond the reality you see in 3D. Change. If you take the word change, 6 letters, let's design the polarity of it. Let's make 3 letters negative and 3 positive. That's the duality. How do you see it? You start with C. C could represent a coherence of sameness. Let us say you're coherent in that which you have because it doesn't change. Because it's always the same. There is a coherence that makes you want to stay in the same place. It feels good because you figured it out. It feels good because you think you know what's next. And you're more joyful in these situations of coherent belief. And then something changes. Like you have a circle of friends that have always been the same. And suddenly they bring in someone new, perhaps someone they just met. And now the circle is different. In fact, it interrupts the circle to the point where you want to quit. Because they changed the coherence you had as the group that you were. This is a metaphor for this planet right this minute. The coherence of everything that used to be is starting to move. And often you don't like it at all. Just like the newcomer who changed the attitude, the consciousness, the feeling, and the joy of a circle you thought you knew. What do you do with it? Human nature says you quit. You've had enough, or you fight to keep the circle the same. That's not an old soul, dear one. That's what the 8-year-old in the playground does. Because that's all they have. The H, another negative one, if you want to say, is you have a really hard time with what I'll call the great lie. And the great lie is this. Everything that's going to happen in the future can be judged by what has happened in the past. You simply call upon that which was in order to cognize that which will be. And therefore, no matter what happens in the change, you see it as trouble. Always negative. Nothing good could come of this change, you say, because look at the past, it never did before. And so, the big lie is that nothing will ever change past what you know. We'll say this again so you understand it. The future may be filled with things you've never seen. It may be benevolent in ways you never could see or expect. If suddenly you get sick and you have things happen to you that have never happened before, what's the first reaction? Oh, there was a coherence of health. Why did it change? What's wrong with me, you say. What have I done wrong, you say. And the big lie, that every time there's a change like this, it's bad news. Just look at what's happened in the past. Just look at the other person. This cannot be good. Therefore, you start to close up shop. The big lie, nothing is new. Old soul, how do you feel about that? I am reciting to you right now human nature that I know is in this room. You judge everything by what has gone before. A is anxiety over it all. Anxiety that will shorten your life with change. When you take a look at the polarity of change, there are those who will understand it and there are those that will not. Change in itself is an enemy. And it's treated as an enemy because it disrupts what was, which was just fine with you. And now we'll get into 3 positives. We're looking at a polarity of change. And nothing is as it seems. If you have followed the channels of Kryon, if you have followed that which is the story of Michael Thomas in the journey home, the 7 angels who kept talking to him said, Michael, nothing is as it seems here. Don't make up your mind what you think you know. And that entire story is about a man who had a surprise at the end, something that had never happened before, even when he thought he had figured it out. It's a story about his polarity, the dark and light, within his mind and brain. Old soul, as you sit there, are you willing to understand you don't know everything? It's not repeated history. These things with you personally and also planetarily are going to shift in ways that have not happened before. There's going to be integrity and compassion that never happened before amongst what you might think is turmoil, because that's all you get to see. Things are not always as they seem. And so the old soul knows that and sits back and watches and does not expect the worst. The health issue that you might have found out about, you can sit back and smile and say, that was them, not me. And you work through it, and you find other ways that nobody has ever told you before to create health when there was no health, to cure the things that nobody has cured. You tend to make up your mind before anything happens what's going to happen. Not the old soul, not the balanced one. I want you to see in your mind, no matter what it is right now that bothers you, whether it's personal or planetary, I want you to see a clean slate and a blackboard with nothing on it. Nothing. So whatever is written upon it, you can accept, and it won't be surprise, and it won't be necessarily what's happened in the past. There are things that are going to change, that are beyond what you expect. I'll tell you, you think you've seen changes lately that were difficult or you didn't expect? Just wait. There are other things that are going to upset the apple cart of normalcy. It has to be. We told you this. And the old soul is going to watch it like they watch a television program. And they're going to go to bed after the program and sleep like a baby, because they know they're part of the shift and their balance is easy to come by. They've got it figured out. They are part of the world. They don't have to participate past being balanced. That's the job of an old soul. To have the integrity to speak out of the things that they have to believe. That is part of the old soul. To do it all with balance and love and compassion. That is part of the old soul. It's beautiful how an old soul creates change and reacts to change and is part of change. G is the great gift. Can you imagine a time where whatever you're worried about right now, can you imagine when you would look back and say, that was the greatest gift of my life, the greatest gift of our time? Something happened that caused me to do something I never would have done before, that put me in a place that is peaceful, beautiful, with the people that I love, instead of dramatic with others who don't agree. And you can look and say, I would never, ever have been here in this beautiful place without that gift, what at the time seemed tumultuous. That's the beauty of the wisdom of an old soul. Being able to see a gift in turmoil. You're actually a precog of your own consciousness. You're able to see right now and feel where it's going before it goes there, so you can relax. Dear ones, things may not go where you think they will, even in a benevolent way. Would you accept something better? Would you accept another surprise beyond the one that you have personally now? An old soul will, because they'll understand that they are part of the greatest shift in humanity, one that sociologists will talk about in the future. When human nature itself started to move past that which it had ever been in history. We have spoken of this so many times. Those of you who listen are tired of hearing it. And I'll tell you, don't ever get tired of hearing good news. Because the more you hear it, the more you'll cognize it, the more you'll live it, the more you believe it, and the more you'll realize, dear ones, the creative source that I represent right now is telling you the truth. You'll get through it. Can you relax with the truth? You'll get through it. It's beautiful. E. E could stand for so many things. Let us stand for beautiful energy. The energy of completion, compassion, balance, understanding, and a good night's sleep. Do you realize how well you sleep when all is well in your life? It is. You may think all is not well in your life, and I'll tell you, that's polarity. That's you deciding what's wrong instead of what is wrong. Family, you sit in the greatest shift that ever was when it comes to humanity. You start going in the direction that will eventually create a beautiful scenario of a planet that never will war. And in the process, you're going to have to slog through some things. It may take a generation more for this to happen. The classic example, we give it yet again, was the Israelis, which you then called Israelites, who came out of slavery. The oldest and darkest energy that you can imagine, that enslaved them and their children, shortened their lives, and made life hell for a very long time. And when the release came, you would think that this would be the most joyful thing possible, and all there was complaints. And then they marched in the desert in a circle for 40 years. And I'll tell you why yet again. You cannot take those who have had the consciousness of slavery and all their past lives and all their lives and take them into the glorious promised land, because it won't work. A whole generation had to die. They didn't live that long back then. And the children did not have that. And then they could move. Even the one who led them couldn't go. Not really. Not really. That's how powerful the past is to your future. Are you getting it? You cannot then take an old energy consciousness and simply reframe it overnight. I'm giving you the ABCs. That's what I do. That's why I came. And that's why I'll continue. To give you this good news in pieces and parts that you can understand and work with, so that you won't have to die and come back. That you can do it while you're alive and here as an old soul. We need it now. So do you. Old soul, expect to live longer than you expect to live. Watch your language. Because by habit, you start telling of your own demise. By habit. Watch the words that come out of your mouth. Because they really do set a pattern for the reality of who you are. Think to yourself, there's a grand machine listening to every word, and that machine will deliver what you ask for. And think of what you're asking for. Think so hard that you may stop and reframe that which you say to others. Let the integrity of all of this sink in. You don't have to talk as fast if you don't want to. Think about what you're saying. And reframe words into benevolent, compassionate things that you expect for yourself. The affirmations are the key, and we have said this before. Make your own affirmations and say them. Let your body hear who you are. For this is the order that you're placing. Yet again, I talk about this, because that is the reality of your culture and your life. You go to a place, you sit down, you place an order, and it arrives. That is how clear this is for your life in this energy. You've got to start thinking out of what was, or what you think will be, into a new earth with a new human. You're saying it right now. Hear it. When? When will it happen? Not soon enough. Not soon enough for you. There is learning. Doesn't it make sense? You've only just arrived into this energy. There's going to be learning. And there will be some who will pass over and come back and continue. But when you come back, I've said this before, you'll be aware of what's happened. You won't make the mistakes you made before, and you'll continue who you are. There'll be a new sense delivered from your Akash, and you will remember what you're here for. It could be indeed a while before you start to see these things manifesting on your news. And yet, many of you are seeing them manifest in your personal life now. You start small and get big. It's a great message of what truly is happening on the planet. Finally, I say this. Make no mistake. You don't have to be of a certain belief for any of this to happen. Major religions on the planet teach compassion. Watch for this, for they will start to morph as well. And what they will do is they'll start seeing one another differently. Watch for this. There'll be forgiveness. Watch for this. There'll be a realization that they're all on the same track with the same Creator. Watch for this. You don't have to be what you call a New Ager to participate in one of the grandest changes that have ever taken place. It's going to be intrinsic. It's going to be something that is absolutely known. How you will act and what to do. That's who you are, old soul. Let the change begin. And so it is.